Any?
So moved.
Okay, a motion and a second? Second. All right. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Do we have any public comment?
No.
No registered public comment. Okay. Next item on the agenda is disclosures and recusals. It's at this point of the agenda that any member of the ALRC that might have a conflict with an item on the agenda would identify that at this point and then indicate what their intention is when that item comes up. Do we have any disclosures or recusals? Okay. Hearing none, we'll then move on. So the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. For those of you that are not familiar with that, we look at the agendas for each meeting, determine which items are non-controversial, more administrative types of approvals, and we lump those all together in a consent agenda. So I'm going to have the clerk read off the agenda items that are on the consent agenda. So if you hear your item mentioned and it is not taken off the agenda, all of those are going to get approved in one lump sum. So you may be done with the meeting early. Listen carefully, and Mr. Verbeek will read off the items that we currently have identified for the consent agenda.
Okay. Recommend to council the grant. Number 5, change of agent, Quick Trip, Inc. Number 6, change of agent, GMRI, Inc. Number 7, change of agent, Ultimate Mart, LLC. Number 8, change of agent, Oasis Cafe, LLC. Number 9, entity reorganization, Madison Elks Lodge, number 410. Number 10, entity reorganization, Mod Superfast Pizza, Wisconsin, LLC. Number 11, entity reorganization, Granite City Restaurant Operations, Inc. Number 12, entity reorganization, Parthenon Gyros of Wisconsin, Inc. Number 13, entity reorganization, Whole Foods Market Group, Inc. Number 20, public hearing, new license, Christini's LLC, 231 North Street, Class B beer. Number 23, public hearing, new license, BQ10 LLC, 1865A Northport Drive, Class B combination liquor and beer. Number 24, public hearing, new license, Bassett Johnson Beverage LLC, 440 West Johnson Street, Class A beer, Class A liquor. Number 26, public hearing, new license, Lucky's 13 Pub, Madison East Town LLC, 232 East Town Mall, Class B combination liquor and beer. Number 27, public hearing, new license, Blue Agave Restaurant and Lounge LLC, 117 South Butler Street, Class B combination liquor and beer. Number 28, public hearing, new license, Layla's Restaurant LLC, 1431 Regent Street, Class B beer, Class C wine.
Okay, so we've got 15 items on the consent agenda. At this point, we'll have a discussion of those 15 to determine if they remain on the consent agenda. So does any member of the ALRC want to recommend removal of anything? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read by Mr. Verbeek? Motion, and Alder Revere, are you seconding?
I apologize, Mr. Chair. I was having a sidebar with the Deputy City Clerk because I did propose some. I do have an addition or subtraction to propose, please.
Okay.
So first, as it relates to agenda item 26, there is a corresponding entertainment license, agenda item 14. And I believe under, I guess, Vice Chair Donnelly's not with us tonight, but under the subcommittee he chairs rules, my recollection was we proposed that entertainment licenses not be on the consent agenda. Is that your recollection, Deputy
Yes.
City Clerk?
Yep.
So it seems to me that since number 26 will be staying anyway for their entertainment license, we might as well separate 26 as it, again, a sister item is 14. And similarly with item 27 has an entertainment license on our agenda. Item 17. So 26 and 27 should be removed from the consent motion so that they can be concurred with 14 and 17 respectively.
Okay.
And in addition, with the committee's indulgence, Mr. Chair, I was going to propose that we consider the Majestic Theater's ownership change on the consent agenda, as you might all are well aware that they are in essence creating a new relationship with Frank Productions, that the principals are remaining, and so they've agreed to continue any conditions that are on the license. So with that objection, I was hoping we could add 25. And there was one more that the deputy city clerk is looking for, but I couldn't find it on the agenda. There was another administrative address change correction that had to reapply, but I don't think it made it to the agenda this evening. I don't think it did. Is anyone here from Danny's Pub? I don't see Brano here. No, so anyway, we'll have to make sure that's on next month's agenda. So that's it, Mr. Chair. Removal of 26, 27, and addition of 25, please.
Okay. So that has 3 changes to the agenda, as Alder Revere indicated. Item 25 goes on the consent agenda. Items 26 and 27 come off. Any, Mr. Kano Spina?
Quick question on item 25, will that be, is the Majestic gonna have entertaining license in it, and should we listen to it separate, or is just for the sense of consistency?
I can respond. The Majestic operates under a theater license, which our committee, believe it or not, it doesn't make sense. Something that I've thought about asking for an ordinance amendment to is having theater licenses come before our committee as well, because most of them are now associated with alcohol licenses. But in any event, the Common Council already granted the Majestic's new ownership group a theater license at a previous meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a good question.
Alder Seeloff.
I'd like to move the consent agenda.
Okay. Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So if your item was on the agenda, it's now been approved. Or on the consent agenda. You're more than welcome to stay with us if you like. Otherwise, you're free to go. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us then back to the operator license applications, and we have 4 of those. First one is Arania Potter. Do we have any registrant for license number 1?
I don't.
We do not. Okay. Is Ms. Potter here? Okay. What's the committee's pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move to place on file without prejudice, as she was on our agenda last month already, previously, and did not appear last month.
Okay. Okay, a motion and a second to place agenda item number 1 on file without prejudice. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Agenda item 2, operator license application for Travis Estel. And this is Travis, yes. Okay, Travis. The process that we use at the committee is to have the police department review all operator license applications against a series of criteria.
Yes, sir.
And if an operator's license application scores on one of those criteria, then we pull the license, ask the operator or the applicant to come in, as was the case with yourself. And then the committee will hear from the police department why the license was pulled, get your response to whatever items are on there, and then the committee will make a decision whether to grant or not. So with that, Captain Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Estelle, as the chair mentioned, there's a process that our records department does for every applicant. There's a series of different databases that they go through, and part of that is a criminal history check. And so through that criminal history check, per our guidelines established by the committee, there was a guideline 2 violation. I'm going to read that, and then again, as the chair said, you'll have an opportunity to provide some context or whatnot as needed.
Okay.
So, guideline 2, provided the circumstances of the offense substantially relate to the circumstances of the job or license activity, any person who has been convicted of or has a current charge pending for 1 or more offenses within the last 5 years, or for 2 or more offenses arising out of separate incidents within the last 10 years in the following subcategories. And there are a number of them, but the one in particular that caused the flag was A, violent crimes against a person of another, including but not limited to battery, disorderly conduct, sexual assault, injury by negligent use of a vehicle, intimidation of a victim or witness. And so, looking back at the criminal history through the state of Wisconsin, there was a conviction for battery in 2008, and then a separate conviction for disorderly conduct in 2008. There are some older things, but they do fall outside of that guideline. So it was the battery and disorderly conduct from a number of years ago that triggered the check and resulted in you having to come up and sit at the desk, so.
Okay.
So with that, do you have any circumstances or other items that you want to mention that the committee should?
I mean, just the fact that they were done at the same time, so it had to have been the same 10-year period. Also, I think the charges were, I mean, they're going to fall off the 10-year period in like the next 3 months, if that, if they're done in 08. We're now coming up on 18. I think it's another, like, less than a year. And in that time, I mean, I've had nothing since then. I've completely changed my life from all of that. I've got reference letters from my past employer, my current employer, some character reference letters. But since that exact incident right there, I've completely turned my life around a complete 180. So with that, I guess I'm just at the mercy of the committee at this point.
Alder
Start
Beater-
passing around your correspondence,
Yeah.
sir, so we can take a look as you're answering questions. Thank you.
Alder Budusiloff.
Thank you. Are you needing this license for your current place of employment? Has there been any changes or?
So I have 2 jobs. My real job, my full-time job is a maintenance technician for a company called IA Management. This is for a second job. We are a catering service for weddings. One of our venues is about to get have a liquor license, so we need somebody with an operator's license for that venue. So it's the same job, it's just new rules that are applying to it.
Great, thank you so much.
Alder Revere, did you have a question?
Well, I wasn't raising my hand, but I'll
Oh.
go ahead and ask one anyway.
I thought I saw you doing that before.
I often do, as
Sorry.
you know. Did you want to say more, sir, about what was going on in your life when you had this cluster of
It was just
brushes with the law?
I mean, it's pretty evident in the record itself. My life was going nowhere pretty quickly, so not really. It was a very horrible time in my life. That's about all I really want to say on record.
And then since we're obviously the jurisdiction of our committee involves alcohol licensing, this is why you often ask the question about your status with the Wisconsin DMV
Current.
for driving privileges. Did you go right ahead and complete the driver safety plan when you were
I think
convicted
it
of your
took you- I'm
OWI?
sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
When you've been convicted of 1 OWI, correct? And you went ahead and completed the driver safety plan, required the assessment and
Eventually.
counseling or classes?
Eventually, so I think the OWI was in 06 or 07. It took me getting all the way to the stuff in 08 happening before I made any changes, but shortly after that, I think in late 08 or 09, I did do the OWI, the training class or the driver safety class. I went to an inpatient rehab facility and just kind of kept going from there.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Further, Mr. Kano-Spina.
Second.
Motion and a second to grant the license. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you. Operator license application for Jack Greenwood. You probably heard the discussion with the previous applicant, so I won't go through that again, so we'll go right to Captain Friedman, who will identify what the criteria was that got your license.
Of course.
Hi, Mr.
Removed.
Greenwood. So again, you heard my spiel from before. So our records folk did a check, and in the last few years, there was possession of THC and an underage drinking. So that actually falls under a guideline 3. I had it wrong on our sheet, but a guideline 3, which says, provided the circumstances of the offense substantially relate to the circumstances of the job or license activity, any person who has been convicted of 2 or more offenses within the last 5 years, subcategories being possession of a controlled substance, alcohol beverage offenses, and so one of each, again, within that 5-year time period, so.
Gotcha.
Would you care to comment on that?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So the THC ticket was County of New Berlin. I was coming home from Milwaukee. I was going to school and I was visiting some family and pulled over late at night and cooperated with the officers to the full extent, let them know exactly what was going on when they questioned me. Was taken into custody and had a quick time with them and immediately followed up with the court, paid my ticket on a payment plan as quickly as possible, and haven't had any brushes since with anything significant. And with the underage drinking ticket, it was, way back in high school, and I just chalked that up to childhood ignorance, and I just feel like it was flagged, and I'm not sure how those 2 offenses would pertain to be relevant currently in my life.
Okay. Thank you. Alder Revere.
So I give you props on the positive side for typing this. We see very few typewritten applications. so
Yeah.
Congratulations for that, especially for operator license applications. So that, oh, okay. So you did it online. Well, very
I
few
did it with my
people
boss,
Very
yeah,
few people do it
together.
online with your assistance of your boss at Fair Trade then.
Mm-hmm.
So then on the negative side, although I will support your license and I'll make a motion to do so, unless there are other questions, is can you just say why you didn't include the underage drinking in your application?
To be completely honest, it genuinely slipped my mind. It's been so long, and I didn't know if it would be relevant to include it. So I just opted out just because I didn't think it was relevant, I guess.
Okay. So just so you know, it should have been included on your application.
Absolutely, and like I said, it was just ignorance. I did not know what to include entirely.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I'll move to grant, Mr. Chair.
A motion and a second. Grant the license. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Last operator license is Alonzo Baston. Okay, Mr. Baston, you heard our previous discussion, so we'll have Captain Friedman identify why your license was removed from the process, and then you can offer in whatever comments you want to what he has to say. Captain Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Mr. Baston. So, as part of our records check and the criminal background process, there were 2 felony convictions, one in 2009 for child abuse recklessly causing harm, and one in 2001 for substantial battery intend to cause bodily harm, and that's a guideline 1 violation. There's no time limit to that, so it could be a year ago or 25 years ago. But guideline 1 reads, provided the circumstances of the offense substantially relate to the circumstances of the job or license activity, any person who has been convicted of any felony unless duly pardoned will be flagged. So that's why you're here.
So you might probably want to start with that one because it's a significant item. So let me tell the committee a little bit about what the circumstances were leading up to that.
With the substantial? Is that what you're referring to, the substantial?
Yep.
Well, pretty much that was like self-defense.
I'm sorry, you said self-defense?
Yeah, self-defense. But, as everything played out, the shoe went on the other foot for the most part.
Okay. Questions of Mr. Bastion from committee? Alder Rivera?
Thank you. So, could you explain what your sentence was, sir, for your 2 felony convictions?
I received jail time, and I had to go through some treatment programs, and then I was on papers for a little while.
When were you ultimately discharged from the Wisconsin Department of Corrections supervision?
Several years ago.
Several years ago?
Yes. I mean, these are very old.
And there is I appreciate that you attached your CCAP summary to your application, but on the other hand, that doesn't tell us. In one sense, it gives us a lot of specifics because it gives us the case numbers and the dates, but doesn't tell us what the offense is. Do you remember what the criminal traffic case was for? It's not included in our police department record summary. There's a criminal traffic on your CCAP that you print out that you gave us with your application.
Criminal traffic.
Yeah,
When was this?
it was in 2000 in Dane County. Never mind, the clerk found it for me. It was just a license issue. Though I was just concerned that it wasn't alcohol related, sir. It's not an OWI. You've never been convicted of an OWI, correct? That's affirmative? You didn't
No,
say
I
yes
have.
or no? You have
No.
been convicted of OWIs?
Yeah, it's like during my high school days,
Okay, so it was many years ago?
many years ago, yes.
So like about generally what year do you think, you just had the one OWI conviction?
Yes.
Approximately what year would that be then? Just
I was
approximately.
like 90, 97.
And you said it was just the one? Just one conviction?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Alder Breeder Seeloff?
Mr. Basson, can you tell me a little bit more about like your employment situation right now? So is this license, it says you work at Stop and Go, is that where you're working?
Yes, that's my part-time job.
Okay, and you need this for that
Yes.
job?
Yeah, I haven't been working at all, and I need that income.
How long you
I
haven't?
haven't been working there for like 2 weeks because of this situation.
But how long had you been working there?
About 6 months, 4 months.
6 months, okay. And you said this was a part-time job for you? And then, can you maybe give me a little bit more about like your current, clearly you had some troubles in the past, kind of your current life circumstances, do you feel like you've overcome those issues?
Yeah. A lot of this is like, I don't know, it's when I was like younger, for the most part. Some things were like when I was involved in a car accident on Whitney Way, that wasn't even my fault. As far as the dispute between Miss Baumgart, that got resolved. And then it's like these state cases. I don't know if those are like
Yeah,
child
like
support cases.
not so much those state cases, but the substantial battery felony charge and then the recklessly caused harm
Right.
from
Well,
2009. Are those like things that you feel you haven't had any issues around anymore?
oh,
as-
absolutely not.
Okay.
Mr. Grady?
Just a couple of questions. One, was this Was this related to alcohol issues? Do you have alcohol issues or drug issues in where you had these problems?
No.
What, and it's, you know, not, it's some serious situations. Is there,
I mean, I like I said, you know, when it was all said and done, you know, I had to go through therapy and treatment.
and you haven't had any trouble since?
Nope. No, sir.
Okay, have you been had other jobs and so on since then?
Yes.
Okay, and no problems with those?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kano Spina.
Move to grant.
Second.
Motion and second to grant the license. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. According to my list, that takes us up to item 14, which is a 21-plus entertainment license for Madison Easttown Mall LLC, doing business as Lulu's. We have anyone registered?
Yeah, so it's 20.
Yeah.
Should we take 26 as a companion?
Sure. So we'll talk about 14 and 26. 26 is the yeah. Lucky's 13 Pub, doing business as to be determined. Am I looking at the right one? 26?
That one should be updated. It's Lulu's. It's marked.
It's
on there.
Lulu's, okay,
It's
all
Lucky's
right.
13
Okay.
Pub as Lulu's.
Okay, so here we have our registrants. So why don't you introduce yourself to the committee and then indicate what you're interested in doing with the two licenses.
Okay. My name is Jake. I'm the general manager of the location. This is Tracy Word. She's the district manager. And Lucky's is, you know, a pub, very family-friendly pub. Our hours of operation will be 8 a.m. We do have breakfast, and then run through 2 a.m. The entertainment license is for, we're gonna have like acoustic music a couple nights a week, and that's, you know, that's really it for the entertainment license. That's it.
Alder Seeloff.
Thank you. So, for the entertainment license, a couple questions. Have you had a meeting with Alder Balde?
I
Or
have
have you
spoken
talked
to
to
him
him?
through phone and through email.
And-
He was concerned, there was a couple concerns as far as security. I did address those concerns. He was curious as to what type of camera system we'll have, where the cameras will be angled, and we did address all that. But other than that, he had no other concerns.
Okay, and then you said the entertainment would be just acoustic music, but then in your application, it says, live music or DJ twice a week. So is
Yep,
that?
so it'd be like, we would have a DJ for game days, that type of stuff. And then the live music would just be like acoustic, 1 or 2 nights a week.
Okay,
We bring in like an acoustic one-man band that plays during happy hour or something like that to kind of build the energy and do it, you know, either during happy hour or did the dinner hour, something like that,
well,
rather than just playing the jukebox.
the good news is one-man acoustic ones don't need entertainment licenses, but if there is more than one, they do.
Okay.
So would you be comfortable if we say that the live music would be always non-amplified acoustic in a condition of the license? Clearly, the DJ would be amplified. but-
Because the DJ would be amplified, and what we
But
like to do for that is just have them come in and during football games, say the Packer game is on, instead of having commercials on the TV is when they play music or give away prizes and things like that.
For the DJ.
Right.
But what I'm
Okay.
asking is whether for the live music, you would be comfortable with a condition that says that the live music would be acoustic only and not amplified? I'm asking. That's because you described it as acoustic.
I guess not. I mean, if there was a time where we wanted to, say, have a Halloween bash or Oktoberfest and we brought in someone that was more than a one-person acoustic, I guess we would want the license to cover that.
Mr. Kano Espina, then Mr. Grady.
So, hi.
Hi.
So, you are asking for, so the capacity that you put here is 178 people, correct? And you have, and your security plan, which I don't know if you have an attachment or is just what you just wrote in here? Is there another security plan, or is just the one bouncer and regular mall security?
Generally, we don't have, we're a pretty family place. We don't have bouncers at any of our other 8 locations and have never had anything like that. So I don't know, the questioning seems odd to me.
Well, it's
Yeah.
just because of the amount of people, right?
Right.
And if you are doing a show and you have a lot of people, one bouncer
Right.
is not gonna be, like, I don't feel comfortable with one bouncer for that many people. Not have been, I don't know, I don't remember if I have been in the establishment to eat
Okay.
or anything, so, it's just I'm trying to
Right.
understand it from the entertainment point of view,
Right.
right? So, if it's a restaurant and people are eating, yeah, or people are
Right.
watching the game,
Right,
no problem.
Right.
But if you are saying that you may want to do some kind of party, which the entertainment license may allow you to do that, then one bouncer, I personally will not be okay with that. So it's kind of, I want to understand what you want to do with the entertainment license to know what to expect. Because basically, I don't want to be concerned that we're
Right.
going to be, and you're asking to be open until 2 in the morning? Or 1 in the morning? Is that correct?
mm-hmm.
Or you said 2 when you were speaking?
Yeah, I misspoke. I apologize. 1 in the morning.
1 in the morning. And so my concern, and I think some of the concerns with entertainment license is that restaurants kind of move into something else after 11 p.m. Just kind of want to know more what your plan is so I can be.
No, like at our
confident.
other restaurants, it's more of like a 70s dance music is our bands, and our clientele that we would have coming in are more middle-aged to 60s. It's not a younger clientele that we bring in. So I think, I don't know. I've never had this before, so yeah.
So you do dances, 70s dance in your other place?
Yeah.
And
Like, it's not a trouble crowd. Like, when he was asking me about the security and stuff, I'm like, we've never experienced anything like that.
And you're saying in your application that you will have 2 times a week acoustic. How often do you do the dancing in the other places?
I don't know that it's a lot of, I would say probably 3 times a month.
3 times a month?
Mm-hmm.
And this is located next to the mall or in the mall?
It's in the mall.
It's in the mall. And have you talked to the mall about them allowing you to use the mall security, or is that your expectation?
Well,
that
the
they
mall the mall would close at 9.
would- Right.
And then the door to the mall would be locked.
Uh-huh.
So the only entrance would be through the front, and then we have cameras at all of the doors.
You have cameras in the front?
Mm-hmm.
And then
And
when the mall is closed
Mm-hmm.
and you're having a dance at 11, but the mall is closed, will the mall security staff be? I'm guessing they will not, correct?
I have no idea. That one I don't know.
Right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Grady?
How many employees we have working at, average number?
Kitchen is usually like per shift. 7 kitchen guys, 2 dishwashers, and maybe a prep, and then about 14 servers, 2 bartenders, a bar back.
Okay, does
3
that decrease
3
after the mall
managers,
closes?
And then as we cut down the staff, it goes down from there.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Alder Revere.
Thank you. So, on the floor plan that you submitted with your application, are you familiar with it? Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this your outdoor patio? I'm trying to figure out what
Yeah.
that is.
Yep,
Okay, so this is the actual exterior
yep. It's
wall
got
of the physical East Town Mall? Mm-hmm. And then how large is your outdoor patio? You don't specifically say in your application.
I don't know the dimensions,
I don't know the dimensions, but it's gonna have 17
do you?
tables.
17 tables?
Yep.
Okay. And I don't know if you all would be the appropriate ones that research this or not, but do you know if there's a conditional use permit secured by a previous tenant in this space for exterior eating and drinking issued by the city of Madison?
It was issued because they did have to have a meeting for us to put the fireplace out there. And then that was approved on the patio.
By the fire department? Mm-hmm. What was in this space prior to your remodeling? Was there an existing food and drink establishment in this space, or?
Yes, but it was like in the cafe court, so it was like a Subway, a Taco Bell. They had no exterior to the mall at all, or to the,
This is the food court area?
yeah, so it was like food court restaurants, and then now we're occupying 3 of those spaces for our establishment.
So, but neither of you went to another meeting in this building of the Madison Plan Commission for a conditional use permit?
No, but I am pretty sure the owner did, because I know when he had mentioned he had to go for having the outdoor patio and the outdoor fireplace out there.
Do you recall if there's any conditions on that separate permit in terms of hours of operation or
No.
exterior sound?
No.
You're not familiar with? Okay. And then, are you familiar with your lease with the management of East Town Mall? Do either of you know if that has requirements as to your sound system, your volume, going to other questions that you previously have answered?
No, I don't.
You're not familiar if
I'm
your
not
lease has
familiar
any
with that,
conditions related to volume levels or?
No, but she knows the manager of the mall has talked to us and has actually been trying to help us find a band for our VIP party. So it sounds like they're pretty good with it.
How many, if you said this, I missed it, how many other establishments do you have in the country? that are like
There's
this? How many
14 that our owners own.
This would be the 14th Lulu's?
No,
Or
this
the
will.
15th?
We have Lucky 13 pubs in the Twin Cities,
Uh-huh.
and there's 8 there. And then we have me and Julio in Fitchburg here,
Oh, okay, it's the same group, all right.
me and Julio in Hastings, and then Rudy's Red Eye Grill is another one of their concepts.
I see. And they're all the same ownership group,
Yeah,
and they aren't
family
franchised,
owned
they aren't
and not-
franchises,
yeah.
it's all the
Yeah.
same owners?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Captain Friedman, did you have any comment with regard to the security issue or the?
Yeah,
or from-
the district didn't communicate any concerns to me, so
Okay.
I don't have a lot to add on that.
So the district has been in contact with the applicant?
I presume so. I mean, is that,
Yeah.
You did talk to the captain, the MPD, somebody from MPD? No.
Officers were on site, but the captain I did leave message with, and he never responded to me.
Okay.
Assistant City Attorney Zillaby, then Alder Rivera.
On the application, question 16 says name of liquor license agent, and Michael Shaw was written and crossed off, and Jake Ayers written in. So do all the answers to the questions following pertain to Michael Shaw, or?
No, he was taken off. It's been really easy to hire here, not. It's been very hard to hire. And Mike is our other partner in the me and Julio in Fitchburg. So he was gonna go on the license, but then we hired Jake, so we put him on.
Okay, but like question 17 and 18, are those, who do those respond to?
I don't know, I haven't seen that.
Because it says name of liquor agent, and it says Michael Shaw crossed off, and then it says Jake Ayers, and then it says city, state in which agent resides. How long is the
That would be
agent?
Jake, so if it's,
For example, do you reside in Cottage Grove?
I do not, that would be, his information.
But we'll need to amend this application then on the record here.
Okay.
His name is also in 23 and 30
30.
as well.
Can you go through and answer the questions for yourself then for us?
Verbally
right
or
now?
just write it in?
Verbally.
Okay.
Good.
City, state in which I reside is Sauk City, Wisconsin, 53578. I've been in Wisconsin for my entire life, 30 years. Background check, has a liquor license. I
Did
am-
you fill out an appointment of agent form then? Have
I
they done a
did.
background on you?
Yes. And I do hold responsible beverage training. Is there any other ones on here you want me to answer? State and date, registration, corporation.
20,
Yep. Yep, Jake Ayers, Ayers.
So
What about-
you're registered with the State Department of Financial Institutions as the agent on the LLC?
No.
Would that be for number 23? That's what. Isn't that what that question gets at, counselors? Is who's
Yeah.
the LLC registered agent that's already in file with DFI?
Right.
as who would be served for it?
The question goes to, when you registered the Madison Easttown LLC, who's the agent on those registration papers when whoever registered with the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions?
I would assume it would be our owners, correct? I didn't register them, I don't know.
I think you'll have to get back to us on that then.
Okay.
Confirmation.
Our accountant, it looks like.
And so then, question number 30?
Managers of the restaurant?
Correct.
Be Chris Skates, Skates. City and state is the same as me, Sauk City, Wisconsin. The other one would be Carly Minton, Minton. She resides in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.
Oliver Rivera?
Thank you again. So when do you plan to open? You said on
The
the,
30th.
well, on the application it says October 27th.
The 30th
October 30th.
is our official
October
open date.
30th is this VIP party that you talked about with the
That's
band?
the 28th.
Pardon me?
Saturday, the 28th is our VIP party, but it's not open to the public.
So the liquor license, the alcohol license if granted though would be for that.
Right.
Yes.
So, because there's so many changes, I, just speaking for myself, but I think you should complete a new application
Okay.
because there's so many items to amend on here. And then going back to the entertainment license, you didn't complete that application yourselves either, did you?
No.
I did not.
As Mr. Keno Espino mentioned earlier when he asked about the security plan, where, you don't have that in front of you, I don't think, but anyway, it says the security plan attached, and whoever completed the application crossed out the word attached. But if you look at, well, you don't have this, but on the reverse side of our entertainment application, there's a number of questions that you need to respond to on a security plan, including, among other things, the names of all the managers and their dates of birth, so that we have that information if there's an investigation. So you're gonna need to complete a security plan as per the requirements on this
Okay.
piece of paper. I don't know if we have an extra one. This is for another item on our agenda, the one I'm holding up.
Okay. We can get that online.
So it's page 2 of the, right, online, does it come up as page 2 of the entertainment license application?
Okay.
Page 2 entitled Security Plan Requirements.
So, Assistant
I
City
don't-
Attorney Allen, I'm sorry.
I'll just finish my thought and say I'm only speaking for myself. The attorneys might have different legal advice for us. But since you amended the application on the record, and given that you have so many alcohol licenses already in our state and other jurisdictions, or Fitchburg and other jurisdictions, I would be comfortable recommending that the Common Council grant your 2 licenses tonight with the condition that you
Refill it.
that you complete new applications with all required information.
Okay.
And have those filed in time for the Common Council meeting on October 31st. But since you want to open prior to the Common Council meeting of October 31st, you need a provisional license you're probably well aware of. So I would say we need that. That would be, I'm not making a motion now, but
Right.
prior to a provisional license being granted, we need complete applications from you
Okay.
and to the satisfaction of the Office of the City Attorney, so that it would be routed to them. And then, of course, you have to complete your mandatory inspections before you can have the provisional granted as well.
Which we had the fire, and that one is done. And then the health inspector was just waiting on one other thing.
And building
So we'll have
inspection
this
too.
building inspections done too.
Done too, okay. And zoning, yeah.
All that's done. The only thing we're waiting on the CO from the health inspector, which we'll have on Friday.
Assistant City
Thank you.
Attorney Allen.
Actually, I think Alder Verveer stole my thunder. My recommendation to the committee was that no provisional license be issued until the proper completion of an amended license was submitted to the clerk's office.
Further,
So I don't know if it's appropriate to comment now because we don't have a motion to approve or not approve, so I don't.
I can go ahead
I
and
don't
make the
know.
motion if you want.
sure.
All right, so I move to grant agenda items number 14 entertainment license and number 26 alcohol license for Lucky's 13 Pub LLC with the condition that amended applications be completed and submitted to the city clerk's office for review by the city attorney's office prior to the issuance of either a provisional or permanent alcohol license. I shouldn't say permanent, annual alcohol license.
Okay, do we have a second? Motion and a second. So just to make sure you understand.
Refill this out?
Yeah, the motion would be to approve your permanent license, but that won't happen at the city council meeting until after you want to have your VIP opening or party. So you have to get a provisional license for that to carry you until the council meeting. But to get the provisional, you're going to have to complete all of the documents, and I don't want to sound too overbearing, but those are not trivial matters. So, I mean, I would be about the business of doing that tomorrow.
Right.
Because you need to make sure that it's okay with the clerk's office, and then the clerk can get it through the city attorney's office, and if there's any glitch, you wouldn't get the provisional, which means your VIP party's upside down.
Right.
So, you know, time is of the essence, as they
Right.
say.
Yes.
Mr. Kano Spina.
Just like to speak to the motion. I think that you guys seem to be a great restaurant. I'm sure you will be a great restaurant. I just know that in previous applications, and I just want to be consistent, when applicants have not done all the requirements for, specifically for entertainment licenses, I have voted no for it, and I know other members of the committee have voted no to it. So I will vote yes to your license for being a business, but not necessarily for the entertainment license. That's what I'm voting no to this motion, just because I want to be consistent that they were treating everybody the same way when they're asking for entertainment. I'm thinking that you guys will do it and will be good, but just, we usually have asked people to come again and go through the whole motion. So I have a time to look at it, how many staff you have, and kind of ask those questions when we have the actual thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the reason for that, as Mr. Kano Espina mentioned earlier, is we've had some unfortunate situations where restaurants turn into something other than a restaurant later in the evening. Tables get pushed aside, chairs get piled up, and it's a
Not
totally
us.
different place.
Yeah,
And
that's not us.
then we
No.
need to deal with how do we fix that. So the way it gets kind of fixed ahead of time before there are difficulties is to make sure the entertainment license
Right.
is straightened around. So I think what we'll do is we'll take these up as two separate items so we can have votes on the liquor license and also on the entertainment license. But that's the reason. That goes to the security plan, and it goes to what your master plan is for everything that you've got.
So if we just said at this point not to have, I mean, stick with acoustic, and that would be a one person, is that what you were saying? And we don't have any, like, more bands than that? Or?
Well, I'm.
That wasn't part of my motion.
I mean, no, okay. I was just wondering, like, what?
No, it's not a matter that you, I don't think, what you were hearing from the committee is that you shouldn't have the entertainment license. It just means that you need to dot a few more i's and
Right.
cross a few more t's to make
Okay.
sure some of these things get
Right.
resolved. So, okay, we have Alder Revere's motion, which was on the liquor license.
Well, both, so.
It was on both?
Yeah, my motion was on both.
Okay.
That they
Well, based on,
submit amended complete application.
motion, but.
okay. Okay, all right, so the motion deals with both the liquor license and the entertainment license. Any further discussion?
Just one vote.
One vote.
Not separate.
Yep. Further discussion? Did you have your hand up? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. I saw the movement over there at the corner of my eye. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss you. Okay, no further discussion. All those in favor of both the liquor and entertainment license motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so we had 2 noes, and, what, 5 ayes? Okay, motion passes. Okay, well, you know what you're gonna be
I got
about
it.
tomorrow, so thank you for your
We'll
time.
just be down tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming to see you tomorrow.
Can you fill out a registration to speak? Because I don't have one for you.
Okay.
Okay, that takes us to item 15. The Faded Kitchen, 1738 Fordham Avenue. We have registrant Dominique Johnson.
Hi.
And there she is. Okay, good evening. So why don't you tell the committee what you have in mind for your establishment, and then we can have a discussion.
Okay. So I'm opening a restaurant, but I'm also an artist, so I want to be able to have artist showcase and poetry slams. I'd like to be able to have art shows and fashion shows. I came here to see if I could get that.
Okay, questions of the applicant. Assistant City Attorney Zeldin.
Have you opened yet?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to get my things in line before I'm like, hey, come work for me.
She's
and
still painting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was making hanging flower bouquets today, so.
Mr. Kano Spina.
So So kind of going with the same questions that I asked, and I see that you did wrote a security plan. So you're gonna have 2 security officers?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Each
Because we
night?
have a back door and a front door, so we'll have someone by the doors because we have a outdoor patio. And when I had people come for our meeting, there wasn't enough lighting in the parking lot. So we're gonna fix the lighting issue and also have a security personnel at the back door.
And are you planning to do amplified? Because it says acoustic art, so.
Yep. So we'll have acoustic artists, but for the poetry slams and fashion shows, like we'll have microphones and speakers.
Okay. And could you remind me of the hours of the times that you're thinking about doing this?
Yep. The outside patio has to be done at 9, or be closed before 9 o'clock, and then the indoor will be closed by 10. And then on the weekends, I think it's either 11 or 12, but we close before bar time.
11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
If
And-
you're, oh. If you're not,
Go ahead. I yield my time.
if you're not planning on having any live music events,
No, not music events, but if people want, like, have guitar or something, they'll play it, but we're not having, like, not like the Majestic or anything like that.
because the entertainment license is for live music entertainment. So
Yep.
if you've,
So if we have like a fashion show or something like that where we have a speaker or somebody coming to play their art or music or things like that, then we would have a show, but it won't be like regular basis every night.
but what I'm saying is like at the fashion show, if you just have somebody announcing whatever's going on,
Mhm.
that isn't something that you would need this license
Yep.
for.
I do want to be covered though, because if people from the school come and they're like, "Hey, I have a band,
Okay.
can we play?" I don't want to have to turn them away.
Alder Peter Seeloff.
Make a motion to grant. And, there's a letter by Alder Zellers,
Yeah, she
who is
emailed me.
very thorough. And we had the conditions on the alcohol license, so I think we can be comfortable.
Mr. Grady, do you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to make sure you met with the neighborhood and.
Yep,
and
we
the
did that.
sellers-
Yeah,
The
he was
sellers,
there.
talked to you and so on and so forth. Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the entertainment license. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right.
Yay,
Well, thank
thank
you.
you.
Good luck. Okay, item 16, Big Top Events LLC, doing business as Breeze Stevens Field. And we have, okay, so let's take our applicant first. Is that Vern? Are you the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, it's hard to hear in the back there. Not sure if you want to be up.
So this is Vern Stenman?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so why don't you tell the committee what you've got in mind?
Well, so we've been operating Breeze Stevens Field for the last 2 years, and there's a misunderstanding, I suppose, on our part regarding the entertainment license and the requirement for that. We sorted that out over the late part of the summer with the support of the city attorney's office. And that resulted in the application that you have in front of you here tonight to continue operating Breeze Stevens Field in the manner that we have for 2 years. I think it's important to note that we have a very detailed use agreement with the City of Madison Parks Department that defines restrictions, security, and other things along that line. That I think we put in as this is contingent upon or reflect or in consideration of, I guess, that agreement as well. Yeah, that's the main pieces that we're trying to accomplish tonight, is to make sure we're have the appropriate licenses and answer the questions we need to.
Mr. Kano Spina.
So I believe we got an email from the elder on this item. Are you aware of the conditions?
Yes, I am.
So just to make sure, no sound allowed by the entertainment license will be extended past 10 p.m.
Mhm.
That okay?
Yep.
and the speakers will not be facing East Mifflin Street.
Yep. And so just to give the whole context of that, we already have a stop at 10 o'clock. We already have a 10 o'clock curfew. I think she wanted to reiterate that. So we have no concerns with that. And the other condition related to the direction of the speakers, interestingly, within our use agreement, we already have that restriction for our concert events that are the larger scale events. We've separately classified other events that as non-concert events that have a different sound level restriction, basically. And those events don't have that same restriction. We actually offered that restriction to the neighbors 2 months ago, as we had some complaints regarding stage location for smaller shows that we have. And we already had offered that up prior to the elder making it a condition, so we're absolutely comfortable with that.
Thank you.
Assistant City Attorney Allen.
Thanks. Good to see you, Vern. Just want to get a handle on the distinction between a concert and other event. I'm familiar that you had Steve Miller a few years ago, and you've had events like Mad Gale. Would those be considered different?
Yeah, the trigger that we used, or the qualifier, I guess, we used in the agreement, that we're actually really proud of because we think it's worked relatively well. Coming into a somewhat unknown situation with the management of this facility in a neighborhood that's delicate, was that concerts would be defined as events that we can only do. Last year we were allowed to do 6 shows. 5 were allowed in our use agreement. A 6th was allowed by support of the Tenny Lapham Neighborhood Association and the Parks Commission. So we did 6 concerts last year that were defined by a maximum decibel level limit of 100 at the soundboard. So the parks rangers come out both during the day and during events to confirm that we're operating within that decibel level restriction. And then all other events operate at an 85 decibel level limit at the perimeter of the facility. So the Mad Gale Fest, even though it did have a live music production element to it, we operated that within the 85 decibel level limit at the perimeter of the facility, and it did not qualify then as a concert. It is something that, as we look at future modifications that could happen to the agreement, that we do think we have to define a little bit more clearly, and that's probably coming in the next 12 months.
And I'll just add on to that we did meet, and there are issues with the language in the agreement, and it definitely needs to be revised and firmed up a little bit to reflect the parties' understanding and also the community's understanding of what is allowed when. But that's outside of what you're dealing with tonight.
Further questions of the applicant? Okay, well, why don't you have a seat? We have several people who have registered to speak, and then after they're done speaking, the committee will deliberate, so they may have some more questions for him.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we have two registrants. Marcia Cannon.
Hello.
Good evening.
I'm Marcia Cannon. I have lived in the Tenny Lapham neighborhood for over 28 years. As you know, part of the ALRC's mission is to enhance public safety and quality of life, as well as consistently apply pertinent laws and conditions. The ALRC recommended that, and the Common Council recently agreed to limit the Edgewater's decibel level at Langdon and Wisconsin Avenue to 70 decibels, and to separate their 2018 renewal application for an entertainment license. Big Top Events is requesting a permanent entertainment license at Breeze Stevens. Their September 18th application does not specify decibel limits, but refers to their use agreement between Big Top and the city. Page 4 of the use agreement, if you have it in front of you, I don't know, Big Top agrees, it says, Big Top agrees to maintain an amplified sound level of no greater than a sustained 100 decibels across all octave bandwidths at the sound production stage for each concert event, and that all other events will be operated at a decibel level under 85 at the perimeter of the stadium. That's exactly what Vern told you. On October 9th, Big Top representatives met with Alder Zellers at Breeze Stevens. With neighbors were invited to come. It was late in the evening, was 8 o'clock at night, but there were, I don't know, 15 or so people there. One 7-year resident said he's moving because his young son is unable to sleep with the noise from Breeze Stevens. Other neighbors complained about noise from concerts and events with amplified sound. Just one neighbor said he likes the sound. As I mentioned to you on September 13th, when you were considering conditions for the Edgewater license, excess sound from amplified events is a serious public health issue. For concert goers, hearing damage can occur after just 15 minutes of exposure to 100 decibels. For neighbors, amplified sound that persists for hours disturbs concentration, can raise blood pressure, and affects concentration and the ability to sleep. I urge you to apply the same conditions to the Big Top events application for an entertainment license as you have done for the Edgewater. 70 decibels at the perimeter for all events and separation of their 2018 entertainment license application. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second speaker is Darlene Bueller. In support, available to answer questions. Darlene? Okay. All right, well, that completes the registrants. So what is the committee's pleasure? Alder Petersilov.
I'll make a motion to grant with the conditions that were outlined by Alder Zellers. So no sounds allowed by the entertainment license will extend past 10 p.m. and speakers will not face East Mifflin Street.
Okay, a motion and a second. Alder Rivera.
Would the maker of the motion consider it friendly to have the entertainment license renewal be flagged at renewal time? Sure. Thank you. I think that was an excellent suggestion by Mrs. Cannon.
Yeah, I will go on the record saying also that although we add that for people to feel that it's there, that we can separate licenses at license renewal time for any license, especially if we see that there is any issues that have happened, any complaints, or the Alder requests it. So I want to kind of, for at least for the public that's here or those who are watching us on TV, to think that we have to have it as a condition for us to be able to separate it. But yeah, I appreciate the neighbors feeling better if it's in there.
Especially since we have the use agreements being renegotiated, to make sure that the conditions in the use agreement are at least similar.
Okay, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item is number 17. Blue Agave Restaurant and Lounge LLC, and they also have an entertainment license, which is item 27. So why don't we at least talk about them both at the same time? And we have two registrants. And let's see, Sandra, you would be the applicant?
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you have in mind?
Yeah, so again, my name is Sandra, and our idea is to open a Mexican restaurant and with a lounge. I don't know if you guys know what a lounge is, just like a small room, like a bar, but in a more relaxing way. And so we want to have Mexican menu, so tacos, burritos. It'll be like kind of like Tex-Mex and authentic at the same time. And we also want to offer traditional drinks like margaritas, pina coladas. So that's our main idea.
Alder Seeloff.
Thank you, Sandra. We received an email from Alder Rummel that said that you had had a neighborhood meeting and that she would support it with the following conditions, which would be Sunday through Wednesday, you would be open 10 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Correct.
Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., and Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. until 2 a.m. And then that DJ would be 2 times a year for Cinco de Mayo and New Year's Eve. And that you would monitor the adjacent parking lot and provide signage promoting public parking on your website and
Correct.
Facebook.
Yep.
Are those all conditions that you voluntarily agree to?
Yeah, I mean, we would like to stay open on Thursday until 2 a.m., but we are willing to make that sacrifice if we have to and close at 1 a.m. on Thursdays too.
So I'm gonna ask it one more time because.
So yeah, it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions of the applicant? Alder Revere.
Thank you. As the applicant knows, I attended and co-sponsored the neighborhood meeting with Alderperson Rummel as the 4th Aldermanic District I represent is adjacent to, it's across the street, actually from where the proposed restaurant and lounge is located. So I had the benefit of being there, as did Captain Friedman, who was there as well. The other 2 conditions, and Alderperson Bidar did a good job summarizing, as we did receive this email within the last hour from Alderperson Rummel that unfortunately only went to the alders on the committee and to the clerk, so not everybody received it, but I appreciate that you've voluntarily agreed to those conditions, because I know that would mean a lot to your neighbors. The other 2 conditions I wanted to suggest that we add, which is pretty customary for downtown establishments, but just wanted to get your feedback on, would be that you must meet the definition of a restaurant at all times under our ordinance, which is that at least 50% of your revenue must come from food.
Yes.
And non-alcoholic beverages. And then further that food must be available at all times. And you had said at the neighborhood meeting you always have food available, just different menus late at night. And then the last one is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I should look at my notes from our meeting, but what time did you suggest that you would close the patio outside? Was it 10 p.m.?
10 p.m. every day.
Yes, 10 p.m. I have here. And no exterior amplification, you all agreed to too, is that right?
And a what?
No exterior amplification, no.
Oh, no.
You aren't
No.
going to use those old speakers on the outside of the
We
building?
will not.
Yeah. So you all are fine with those? Great, thank you
Yep.
very much, I really appreciate it. And very much look forward to dining at your new restaurant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kano Spina.
If there's any no more questions, I would like to move to grant.
We do have a neighbor that
Sorry.
We have a second speaker.
Then I won't.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant? Okay. Why don't you have a seat, and we have a second speaker, Jamie McCardle.
Hi, I'm Jamie McCarville. I'm a resident next door, and I just wanted to be here to make sure that the conditions were written into the license, and it sounds like they were, so I'm happy. I want to make sure that we did talk about acoustic music, too. I know that there were a couple of nights, but did that get into the license? Mike?
We haven't made any motion yet, Jim.
But you know, didn't we put that as a condition that
I don't
most?
I don't know if Alderperson Bidar read it exactly, but I believe she did. She read verbatim what Alderperson Rummel, I'm just looking at my email here.
I read verbatim.
And she read it verbatim, yes. That the DJ would only be permitted twice a year,
Twice.
Cinco de Mayo
So the
and New
rest
Year's
of the
Eve.
music could be acoustic, right?
Like the mariachi bands we
Yeah.
discussed, yes.
Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Finally, I get mariachi.
Yeah. Okay, we have no additional speakers, so Mr. Kano Spina.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve with the restrictions that were already mentioned.
Should we summarize them?
Can we read those?
Sure. I'll do my best and Alder Vivier, maybe you can. So, hours of operation would be Sunday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Food will be available, patio will close at 10 p.m. daily. Food will be available at all times, no exterior amplification. The establishment will operate as a restaurant. Well, that was the food available at all times, I guess. And then DJ 2 times a year for Cinco de Mayo and New Year's Eve.
So,
Thank you.
Just to clarify on the record, the usual, customary way we would say it would be must meet the definition of a restaurant under section 38.02 Madison General Ordinance at all times. And could we say for the entertainment license, just to give the neighbors comfort, although maybe she left already. Oh, there she is. Hi, Jamie. That the entertainment license is limited to acoustic music only, acoustic performances only, except on New Year's Day and Cinco de Mayo?
Sure.
The applicants are nodding their heads affirmative, so thank you.
Okay, so those were friendly amendments to the motions. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so both 17 and 27 are approved. What? Yep.
I thought you were going to say
No.
18.
Okay, so item 18, East Washington Liquor, Inc., doing business as Rockies. And I noticed that Assistant City Attorney Zillevy passed out I think a summary for us. So perhaps Assistant City Attorney Zillevy might want to bring us up to speed on what's all happening with Rockies before we take up the referred item.
So are you dealing with, what number is it? 29 first, I assume?
Yeah, we can take them both at the same time. Take up 29 first? Okay. All right.
The summary gives you the details of the municipal court prosecution for this case, including the terms of settlement. The city dismissed counts 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 11, and Rockies pled to counts 1, 2, 9, and 10, which were 2 violations of the license condition prohibiting the sale of airline-sized bottles of intoxicating liquor, and then 2 counts of failing to have a licensee or person with an operator's license on the premise. She paid a forfeiture of $2,253 for those violations, and the total point assessment for the 4 counts is 150 points. And that, my recommendation would be to make this evening's appearance her formal expression of concern and move on from there. I talked to both the captain and the lieutenant in the West District, and there have been no issues as far as they are concerned with this establishment since the spring. So.
Okay, Alder Beater Seeloff.
I'm looking at, so do you need us to take, Attorney Allen, any particular action to do what Attorney Zillevy mentioned, which is to just say this was our formal way of expressing, what was it?
Concern.
Concern.
That's it.
That's it? We just,
Take a motion to
To say that we're
express
for-
your formal concern as to the behavior that resulted in the convictions. Do you want to assess?
Okay.
Right, and to assess points, which is within your discretion.
So the motion would deal with formal concern as well as the points. Okay. Further discussion.
No, I was just gonna, I kinda wanna know, I was gonna make the motion, but I just don't know, have all the legal, language again, so, this is to formal statement of concern and to assign points, is that
Right.
correct?
That's correct. You would have to determine, debate amongst yourself whether you agree to assess 150 points, or if you decide upon some other calculation of points for whatever reason.
And before that, do we need to listen to the defense or to the?
Well, I'd certainly recommend that.
Okay.
Due
Before the
process
motion?
really
Right.
requires you to hear from
Right.
both parties before you take such action.
Okay.
Any further comments from either Assistant City Attorney Allen or? Okay. Well, then we have, let's see, it looks like we have two folks registered here, so why don't you introduce yourselves, and then you can respond to what Assistant City Attorney Zelevy and Assistant City Attorney Allen had commented
Sure.
on.
Thank you. My name's Nate Solik. I'm an attorney with Godfrey and Kahn. We represent Rocky's Liquor West in connection with both of the matters that are before the committee tonight. With me here is the owner of the business, Ms. Gurpreet Guman. She's going to make a statement to the committee. She would like to make a statement to the committee here in a moment. If I may, just real briefly, I just want to go over the procedural history of this, because it's a little bit convoluted how we got to this point. The original license was issued in November of 2016. That was shortly after Ms. Guman purchased the business, which had been in existence for a long time previous to that. And at that time of issuing the original license, almost a year ago now, those 5 conditions were put on the license. In June of 2017, the business made a request to lift conditions 1 and 5. That request came before this committee. This committee acted on it in July, deciding to not lift those conditions. That then went to the city council at its August 1st meeting. It was debated at the August 1st meeting, and ultimately, and I'm sort of characterizing what the council did that night, but essentially, the council was provided information that a complaint was being prepared by the city attorney's office, and the council ultimately opted to not act on the condition request that night and to wait for more information and put it on the calendar for the September 5th meeting. The complaint was then filed and served on August 10th. At that point, we notified the council and the clerk that a complaint had been filed, and we requested that the city council not proceed with any action on September 5th and to wait until the complaint was dealt with, which we did. And I believe the court issued its final order in that case on September 18th. And then here we are now on the September 5th city council meeting. The council referred this to the October 18th ALRC meeting. So we still have that sort of initial request from June about lifting conditions 1 and 5. And Ms. Guman, like I said, has a statement to make.
Counselor, before your client makes that statement, it's, I guess, an abundance of caution, but our ordinance requires that she be advised that she has no requirement to make a statement, and that the ALRC may consider the content of her statement in assessing points. So
Thank you.
That's required by the ordinance. I'm sure you've gone over that with her, but.
Ms. Cooper.
So, hello everybody. I'm here representing my liquor store today. I'm here tonight to ask ALRC to lift condition 1 and 5 on my liquor license, which is condition 1 is able to sell 200 mLs and smaller bottles, and condition 5 to not to be meeting with the neighbors every 3 months. This was suggested by the neighbor chairman, because if she was saying that if she needs to meet with me, she can come anytime. That meetings were not much working out. I have made this discussion earlier in the ALRC meeting, which were pushed back because of the complaint was not registered. The matter was still pending. I received the papers from the court on August 10th, and I promptly acted on it, and I have paid all my dues and everything. I take full responsibility of the problems that occurred earlier this year, and I worked with the city, resolved everything. Since the initial series of violations, we have not had any problems since then. When the problems occurred, I was out of the country. I have met all the conditions on the license, like installing video cameras, no loitering signs, and we always have license operator in the premises. We keep the store clean. I've worked hard to earn the trust of the neighbors, and I'm proud that they supported me in the previous meeting, especially the chairman of the Dunmarshall neighborhood. Today I'm here so that you can take off condition 1, which is most important for my business. Still have thousands of dollars of inventory which I purchased from the previous owner that I cannot sell. So I'm losing my business from competitor stores in the other neighborhoods, especially the Madison population in that area is going to give business to the Fitchburg and Verona liquor stores, because I'm the only one who cannot sell those small sizes. So Madison people are spending their money in the outer suburbs, which is a loss for city too. When I purchased Rocky's Liquor almost a year ago, I purchased a business that was allowed to sell all the sizes. Now I'm now in the part because of the license condition, my sales are well below the projected sales when I bought the store. I also think condition 5 is no longer necessary, which I already explained before, because the neighbor chairman suggested that. My license was initially granted in November 2016 with these conditions, and those conditions were intended temporary. It's now have been a year. And like I said, I take full responsibility of those violations. Earlier, we have fixed them. I have paid the fines, and I assure you those will never happen again. Now I ask condition 1 and 5 to be lifted so that I can go back to running the business in their tent and selling all the full inventory. Finally, I would like to assure the committee that if you lift these conditions, I will continue to make sure the property around my store is clean and well kept. We will regularly monitor the trash and empty bottles, and I will do everything I can so that the bottles are not left around the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Assistant City Attorney Zelvey.
And just to let the committee know that the West Police District has no objection to the lifting of those 2 conditions.
Okay. All right, well, just to make sure we've got, since we have 2 items on the agenda, really item 17 relates to the item 18 relates to those 2 conditions. Because that was the referred item. So we can take those up with regard to item 17, so then item 18. Yeah, right. Yeah, I just want to make sure that when we're making motions here, we deal with with the disciplinary matter first, and then we'll deal with the request on the conditions as the other agenda item. Okay, so then back to the disciplinary matter. As I heard from both of the assistant city attorneys, the items for the ALRC are the assessment, to agree with the assessment of the points, and then also with the recommended actions that have been discussed with the applicant. You had a question, Assistant, or I'm sorry, Alderbeater Seeloff.
Are you gonna promote me to assistant city attorney?
Yeah, I started to do that, so you caught that.
Okay. So my question was whether there was any objections to the 150 points.
We don't object to an imposition of points that falls in that range of an expression of concern, and that was part of the sort of agreement that we reached with the city attorney's office.
Okay, so if I can I make a motion? I'll make a motion that expresses concern for the events that led to the disciplinary matter and assesses 150 points.
Second.
And if I can speak to it?
Motion and a second. Were you seconding, or did you have a question?
One question
Okay.
for Roger. How many points does a person get? Is it 250? I mean, total number?
Before
Before we consider a
revocation
disciplinary
actions
action?
or
Yes.
suspension, disciplinary actions,
Yes.
250, correct.
250, good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderbeater Seeloff.
So I just want to say that I really would like to put all of this behind us, because I really think that this really, as other members of this committee know and my colleagues and the council know, I tried over and over to make a case for all the misunderstandings that had happened throughout this whole applicant situation that I don't think came at all from a malicious intent. So again, in the spirit of putting it behind us, I'm going with this motion and supporting it so we can move on to item 18.
Further discussion of the motion? Okay. A motion and a second on item 29. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 29 passes. So then, let's go back to item 18, which relates to the two conditions. Alderbeater Seeloff.
Can I have the clerk read those two, so condition 1 and 5 out loud again for us for the record?
Condition 1, the establishment shall not sell, dispense, or give away intoxicating liquor in the original container in amounts of 200 milliliters or less in volume. Intoxicating liquor shall not include wine in the original container with an alcohol content of 15% or less by volume. Condition number 5, the establishment shall meet with the Dunn's Marsh Neighborhood Association once every 3 months.
Okay, thank you. So, are there questions? So I heard, Captain Friedman, can you confirm that West District did not have any issues with us removing these conditions?
I did reach out to the district to let them know this was on the agenda. They said they had consulted with Jennifer Zillaby, and they did not have any issues beyond what she had already discussed, and didn't have any concerns they wanted me to pass along.
Mr. Grady, and then Alder Rivera.
Ms. Guman, this is for you. What percentage of business do you anticipate from giving you the condition 1, crossing it out? How much?
I would say it's 45%, but if you see that area, when I bought the store, the sales are half right now. So if a person wants to buy a 750 ml bottle and a 200 ml or couple shooters, that person is not my customer, because then he have to make 2 stops. He have to pick up 1 bottle from me and other 2 from others. When I bought the store, the sales were 120. It's hardly 60 right now.
When your business now, do you deal with any of the people that, you know, I guess the neighborhood was concerned about? You know, people that come in, buy the small bottles and, you know, then go out, drink them and then pass out on their lawns?
No.
So you haven't been dealing with those people at all?
Because I don't even sell. First of all, I don't sell that size. It's the store is in a lower income population. Like people who live there, they do not have like they can't buy bigger bottles. So my store is going really slow right now. As far as like loitering and everything, I barely see anything. I'm able to sell single beer bottles and everything. I don't see them. Once in a while, which when I open the store or my employee open the store, they pick up the garbage from the parking lot because mornings are very slow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Alder Revere.
Thank you. I remember in the various appearances you've had before our committee and the Common Council that you've argued that you recall that the original time when you first met with us back late last year, that the concern of the neighborhood regarding litter was largely limited to the airplane size or miniature 50 ml bottles. Or you remember some of your neighbors brought in bags of garbage that they alleged were collected on their lawns and along the roadway adjacent to Rockies. And admittedly, that was before you opened, that was under the previous ownership, that garbage that they collected. And so I can understand why you were wondering if they were complaining mostly about the miniatures, why we recommended going with those downtown license conditions of half pint or less, and then also the conditions on beer, which were removed by the Common Council at your request later. The question I'm getting at, though, is besides the half pints, the 200 ml, going back to Mr. Grady's question, if I could ask a follow-up along his lines, when you say you think your business is half off of the previous owner, I don't want to put words in your mouth, you said you're only doing about half the business the previous owner. So you really think that the reason why you're off so substantially is because of airplane-sized miniatures and half pints?
Yeah, I have some customers that come and periodically check on me if I got them back. And then when I say no, they said they'll come back so and so time and let them know like when I will get the license and everything.
And are they more interested in half pints or?
They're more interested in half pints and equally, miniatures and half pints equally.
So that many people really buy little airplane size 50 ml?
Because the liquor companies, they offer deals. Most of the miniatures are $1. Some of them are 75 cents. Sometimes if you combine them, it makes more sense to buy 2 or 3 of miniatures than buying a half pint.
Would you plan to package the miniatures and sell them in bulk like was alleged at one of your appearances at the Common
I have
Council?
sometimes deals going on. If you buy one for $1, four for like less, like it will save them like 75 cents each, so they will save them. So they are.
So do you have any ideas on ways that you could reduce, assuming that we lift the condition, the Common Council goes along with it, and you can resume all sales by volume, no restrictions whatsoever? But again, I'm specifically interested in those miniature 50 ml because that's what the neighbors talked about so much with the previous owner and the litter in the neighborhood of the miniatures. Do you have any ideas on ways you can discourage your customers from littering at all, but especially the little miniatures that apparently they consider like a cigarette butt and you can throw them in the neighborhood? It doesn't seem to be a concern for them.
Since I bought the store, I don't know how many underage people I have turned out because it is really against my policies to sell to the underage people. So part of it is when I bought this store, I did not know that much that this store is known for these kind of activities. Otherwise, I would have not bought this property. 1 year of my life, I have stressed on the store so much that I might have more gray hair than in my entire life because of the stress. The other thing is that the way the previous owner ran. One time I have a police officer came and was checking on in the store and saying the previous owner was known to sell to the minors. Do you guys do that? But I never sold to minors. The way the previous owner operated business is different. The way I am operating business is different. Answering your questions, I always tell my customers when they ask about half pints why I did not got the half pints, so that they are more aware of the situation that prohibits me to be the one-stop liquor store for them and to be convenient store for them. That way, if they still want to give me the business, they can use the garbages outside so that I continue to provide them what they expect from me. So like I try to encourage them to use the garbage outside instead of throwing in on the road.
Because again, I appreciate that the West District is comfortable removing the conditions, and it's not a public safety issue, frankly. From my perspective, again, going back to when the neighbors originally came to us, it was, the main concern was littering. That's why you remember the garbage bags that they carried into the building.
And I want to say that if my sales are so less, those people are still drinking their sizes. They are just not buying from me. They're buying from somewhere else. They're still buying what they want.
Yes, I appreciate that very much. That, we can't do anything about alcoholism or anything like that. Not that people that purchase miniatures are alcoholics, of course. But again, I'm just trying to brainstorm and figure out if there's a way that you can do more to prevent littering in the neighborhood, because that, again, was the original concern when you first came to us about a license for this second location.
I just want to give you an example. If people who buy small liquor, when they come too many times, you can know if they are drinking for fun or they're alcoholic. You can also check I can give you the name of one of my customers. I know he's alcoholic and I do not sell to him. I don't want to make 5 cents or 10 cents out of that miniature, because I know that person personally from my other job as a nurse, how many times I have dealt with him at both places, and I do not sell him. And I told my employees, don't even bother to, when he enters, you have to tell him we cannot serve you. And I'm not that money greedy, but when I invested money in a business, I want to pay my mortgage and my employees and everything too, and I have some rules and regulations.
I appreciate all that, and I certainly don't doubt your sincerity in wanting to do the best. So again, I'm sorry, I'm obsessing over litter. I can't get over we don't have garbage bags full of litter usually brought to our meetings. So you do have trash and recycling out. You have at least one container in your parking lot. So if people
I have
are
one
exiting,
on each side, and then I have the garbages, like the regular city garbages on the side of the building too.
City
but mostly
carts.
the customer uses the one on the each side, and we empty them daily basis.
Well, so I just ask you in closing here, I just ask you to please do your best to try to discourage litter in the neighborhood. I'd hate to have some of the neighbors come back and ask that we reimpose conditions on miniature sizes if, at renewal time next spring, when we get back together in May for our renewal meeting. I'd hate to have the issue come back up, because I know you don't enjoy coming to this building over and over and visiting with us.
Not at all.
No offense, but we don't enjoy having to see you coming to us every other month. And then lastly, let me just say that I have no objection to removing the neighborhood association meeting condition 5, and I have no objection to the half pint restriction being lifted. I still am a bit concerned about the 50 ml miniature size restriction because of the concerns that were previously articulated, but at our previous meetings by your neighbors, but I'm willing to not object strenuously to that. So, thank you.
Alder Peter-Seeloff.
I'll make a motion to remove conditions 1 and 5.
Second.
If I can speak to my motion?
Yep, and we also have Mr. Grady who has.
Do we have any input from Alter Cheeks on this? Has he?
Alder Chicks has supported this on the council floor and previously, so.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to say that I'm glad we're at this point, and I want to say that I know you've been very patient.
Thank you.
And it is much appreciated, and I know that you are going to be paying close attention, that you've made a big investment into your business. So thank you for your patience as we've gone through a pretty lengthy process.
Thank you.
Alder Skidmore.
Thank you. I agree with my colleague that it is time to move on. I appreciate your acceptance of responsibility and acknowledgement, through the court system and coming to this conclusion with a indication of the points and the payment of a civil forfeiture. I appreciate that. I also understand that the West District has recommended lifting these conditions, or rather not having a problem or objection to lifting the conditions, and I will agree with that, so I will be supporting this. But I must say that this is an issue that's going to be coming up very soon. Next month, there's going to be a license coming here in my district for a liquor store, and I have expressed my concern to the applicant. It's a liquor store on a much larger scale than this, and they intend to sell, at this time they propose to sell the airplane bottles. I've expressed my deep concern, as has Captain Nelson from the West Precinct. We'll be meeting with him again next week to discuss. There'll be the formal meeting, and I'm going to discuss that with him. And I am still thinking about asking for voluntary condition not to sell them from them. This is in a large mall, and it has a very large parking lot, and even though there's no liquor store there now, there is one adjacent to it in a grocery store that's allowed to sell the minis and the half pints. And this mall has significant issues with continual litter in the parking lot, and I've expressed my concern to the manager of the mall. She's agreed with that and expresses a concern, and I don't think she'd object to having the minis banned. I appreciate what you're saying, and I do not think that this is the behavior of the people that buy and misuse this is at all a reflection on you. That's not an issue, and that's not where I'm going with this, but there is an issue with the use and misuse of the minis. Having worked in convenience stores in the past, not any that sold minis, but I can recall people coming in buying the really cheap 3-packs of beer, paying for them with nickels, pennies, quarters that they've panhandled, and going out on the back sidewalk, drinking them all and passing out. That was routine over a 3-year period where I worked at this store. The condition we're seeing now at the mall, we're seeing people continuing to panhandle at the entrances. They're very sharp. They know when the police are coming, and they leave when they know they're coming, and then they come back. They make a very good living. And many of them walk through the parking lots and panhandle, take the money into the grocery store and buy the minis, drink them, discard them, and repeat. I have a concern about that behavior, and I share Alder Revere's concern about the litter. That's just one of the symptoms. The people passing out, depositing human waste in between cars in the parking lot, that's a real issue. So I will be supporting this, but I don't think that this issue is going away. It's not a license problem. It's not the owner problem. I think you got into a neighborhood that had an established pattern, and I feel for you. But that said, it is time to move on. And I was concerned about lifting that item number 1, but time is going to tell how it worked. I'm really grateful that the problems have ceased, and I thought that was because you weren't selling the minis. If you can keep things under control and we don't have the neighbors coming back screaming, that's going to be a good thing. But if they do, that's something we're all going to have to deal with. So thank you for coming here.
Mr. Kano Spina.
So I first want to say thank you for your service as a nurse. I think that's a very important profession, helping people. So the other thing, I'm so grateful of your patience, because you kind of paying the price for somebody else. And I'm grateful for your service in this neighborhood, because from what I'm hearing from the police and from what I'm hearing from not having many neighbors now saying, we don't want this, you are actually making a positive difference in this neighborhood. There is less, there were some drug issues before with the previous neighbor that I haven't heard any of that with you. So we can have good honors that make the neighborhoods better. So I appreciate you doing that, and I appreciate you taking the time and dealing with us. I do think that the minis are bad, but that's for the whole city. That's not just for one business.
That's what I mean.
And you have been
Punish
paying the price.
everywhere. Punish
Correct.
everywhere, then, not just me.
Correct, exactly
Yes.
right. So
Yeah.
I apologize for the procedure.
Mhm.
I think that a couple of times we tried to make that happen, but so I thank you for continuing and following the system. Sometimes the system is not the best, but hopefully we can make it better. So thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 18 passes.
I have one question. So when can I start carrying them? After the Common Council or tomorrow?
After the Common Council meeting.
After the Common
Yep.
Council? Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to item number 19. Willie Street Co-op. We have a number of registrants here. Okay, so are one of the two of you the applicant?
Kristen Esselstrom.
Okay, Kristen, okay. So, good evening. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you've got in mind?
Sure. My name is Kristen Esselstrom. I'm the store director of Willie Street Co-op East. And we're seeking an alcohol license to add a small selection of beer, wine, and cider to our existing grocery store on Williamson Street. We currently have 2 other grocery stores located in the Madison, Middleton area, and both of them have a license to sell beer, wine, and cider. So we're seeking to add that as an additional offering to our customers at this location.
Okay. Mr. Kano Spina?
Can you tell us a little bit more why the neighborhood is opposed to and I don't know if that's an appropriate question, but like.
We went before the Marquette Neighborhood Association, and they did motion to approve, to support their license, and ultimately that vote failed. They were not specific in like a unified message as to why they didn't support it. there were some concerns voiced at the meetings, but they didn't say exactly why they didn't support it.
Because you have this type of license in the north side, correct?
Yes, yes.
And
it-
in Middleton, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Did you had it before at Willie?
Yes.
The same type?
Pardon me?
Did you have the same type of license before at Willie, or was it different? You were selling different beverages?
Like back in the late 90s, I think, or late 80s, early 90s, we had a license at Willie Street or Willie East. But we did not have hard liquor.
Hard liquor.
Just beer.
And is that basically the concern that the neighborhood has, that you are asking to sell hard liquor?
The concerns that we actually don't want to have, we don't plan on having hard liquor currently at Willie Street East. They were mentioning concerns for Star Liquor, which is also located on Williamson Street. I think there were some that felt like there wasn't need for additional liquor sales in the neighborhood. And I think some people felt like there needed to be more discussion with the owners of the co-op, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Peter Seeloff.
Can I, just so because I have it and I just wanted to be on record because it was only sent to alders and I hope it clarifies. It's an email from Alder Rommel about the neighborhood meeting, so I'm just gonna read it verbatim. Regarding Willie Street Co-op's application for a Class A license, there is no neighborhood consensus. I held a neighborhood meeting where most of the neighbors who attended identified as members of the co-op, and the general sentiment was opposed to the license. There has also been a robust discussion on the neighborhood listserv that has supporters and opponents. You also have a letter from M&A board that also reflects the concerns about this license. I have no doubt that the co-op would be a very good operator if the license is granted. It is an important and beloved neighborhood business who is an active community partner faced with increasing competition. It is an anchor business for the Willie Street neighborhood. The concerns I heard are about the impact to a neighboring business and concern at that business would be harmed if the co-op got a license and the overall density of alcohol establishments. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions of the applicant? We have another speaker and then several other folks who've registered as well. So we may have you come back. Okay, so would you have a seat? And then we have registrant Carl Lensness.
You know, I'm Carl. I'm a member, longtime owner of in the co-op and neighbor, and I attended one of the 3 meetings, not the Marshall Rummel's meeting, but the a committee meeting for the Marquette Neighborhood Association, and listened to the very robust and divided discussion and the vote that was to not support. And I've followed the discussion on the neighborhood listserv, which has been very hot and divided for all kinds of reasons that were mentioned in Alder Rummel's email, as well as several discussions I've had with both neighbors and owners and the online discussion, and my own feelings that this triggered because of Willie Street Co-op being such a unique asset to community and to food and the purchase of food. It was created as an alternative to just another grocery store with junk food and liquor and just pampering of whims, which is one of my my personal concerns here is both with this application, but more in general, the societal changes that I talked briefly about in my letter I sent this afternoon. Because I used to be a market researcher in high tech, And we got carried away with pampering ego whims and conveniences and comforts as opposed to serving real deeper needs. And I believe in the end it destroyed the culture of my company, and I believe it's destroying the culture of our country, our city, and the unique culture that Willie Street Co-op is a sanctuary for some that go there not just for food, but for a type of sanctuary, an escape from the extreme indulgence in all realms, including alcohol, that has seduced many of us and seduced me some years ago. I want this committee to hold out at least one sanctuary for a higher way of being and living. Now, it doesn't sound like beer and wine is a big deal, but talk to people who are sensitive, who have been alcoholics or in families of alcoholics. They go through many I've talked to go through a type of PTSD reaction because of just the physical presence of, or the certain type of people that are attracted. I hear the bell. I'll honor that. Unless somebody wants to ask me more, including my perceptions of the meeting and the neighbors and why they were against.
Don't go away. We might have some questions.
I'll hang around.
Okay, thank you. We have two other registrants, both available to answer questions, both registered in support. Bev Becker. And did you wish to speak? You don't have to. You check.
No, I don't wish to speak. I actually filed the application, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. All right. Thanks. And then Anya, help me with the pronunciation of your last name.
It's First.
Ah, okay. A few extra letters in there. And you were available to answer questions as well.
Sure. My name's Anya First. I'm the general manager of the Willie Street Co-op, and I'm here to support the store director in this application. Willie Street's been an anchor tenant on Williamson for 43 years, and we exist to serve the needs and wants of our owners. We've been asked to look into selling beer and wine and cider at Willie East, and that's also in addition to be in more alignment with our other two stores. We have heard a lot of input from the M&A board and or some people who attended the meeting that Alder Rummel hosted. But in light of that, we've received more requests to bring in beer and wine than we have to not bring in beer and wine. So we've just, we pursued this as an effort to address needs and wants of our owners.
Okay, thank you. And there may be some questions for you. So, okay, that completes the folks who have registered for it. And in your packet, you do have a letter from the Marquette Neighborhood Association and also the Wilmar Neighborhood Center. Alder Seeloff.
Can I ask a question? Maybe from you just said that you've received more requests, and can you explain like through what method? Like, did you survey your members?
Yes.
What's the methodology, or is it just people as they're checking out saying, "Hey, I wish you had it"? So what's the methodology?
On an annual basis, we do an owner survey, and over the last 12 years, we've received what are the top 3 wants that you have from the co-op. Bringing in beer and wine was one of them. So that's where we've counted back. At least 200 people have requested that. Admittedly, we didn't say who doesn't want it, so we were only asking in the what could we do better to serve you? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Kino-Spina.
I'm sorry. Was there any person here that was against it?
Yes, I believe Carl registered against it.
Can I ask Carl one question? So this is not on the business, it's more on you would like to see less alcohol sell, is that kind of my understanding? You don't,
And
do
are you
you
talking
feel
about
that,
at this particular applicant or in general?
like, I'm asking, do you feel that this particular applicant would be able to sell responsibly and do a responsible business with alcohol?
From a business model and most of the measures that I've heard concerned about use of alcohol, yes. My concerns go beyond business to cultural and values, and especially the values I heard from many of the owners and the neighbors, and some of them having a desire to have a more complete and specific survey of the owners and neighbors than the general survey that was referred to.
Okay, thank you so much.
Further discussion? Alder Revere.
Thank you. Jack, did you not register to speak?
I didn't, but I'm also here.
Are you willing to answer a question or two?
Sure.
And then register after you speak? So could you come forward? So Jack Kier is one of the board members of the Marquette Neighborhood Association, and we have the letter from the board. I have no idea how you voted or what your personal thoughts are, but if you're okay with me putting you on the spot.
That's fine.
Since we've been friends for so long. So the letter that's signed by President Lynn Lee says, quote, "The board had concerns that did not allow it to support the application for an alcohol license," but the letter doesn't articulate any concerns whatsoever in any specificity. Could you, as a one board member, go into some of the specifics? Is it consistent with what the applicant has said, that it's
Yes.
Star Liquor and overall density on Willie Street, or?
Yeah, I should also, before I comment, also add that I am employed by the co-op.
Oh, I didn't know that, okay.
Yes.
So you have so you recused yourself. So you didn't actually even vote then?
No, I did vote.
Oh, you did vote,
Yeah,
okay.
my argument, and it was supported by the board, was that I was not in a position of conflict because there's no financial gain for me based upon the vote.
The staff aren't getting raises based on alcohol sales, then, I take it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, as Anya had already said, there was concern from the neighborhood regarding the proximity of Star Liquor. So I was actually the person on the board who made motion to defer the entire topic to you all, because we did have so much concern with us being really unable to resolve it, with the proximity of Star being the central issue. And then beyond that, I think we realized that if we took it directly to ALRC, you'd be able to look at the application as the business itself rather than as the relationship of these two businesses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then, Mr. Chair, if I could ask the two assistant city attorneys, whoever wants to answer it. So this application is for 3 different licenses: Class A beer, Class A cider, and Class A liquor. Could one or both of you confirm? I was under the impression from previous meetings that perhaps cider was covered in a Class A liquor license, and that cider licenses, I thought, were only, which is, of course, as you know, a relatively new innovation created by the state, but that cider were only necessary if you only have a Class A beer. Do you all recall?
You're right.
Which way's right?
The last one. If you have a Class B license for beer, and then you're automatically qualified for the Class A cider.
Okay, so if.
It's not even
So in other words,
discretionary
they
on our
don't,
part.
the bottom line is the co-op didn't need to apply for 3 licenses. The ciders are already covered in the other license.
Well, it is a separate license. For some reason, the state elected to make a separate Class A cider license. But that is only when you have a Class B or a Class A beer license that you need the Class A cider.
So if we
And
grant-
then
if
you
we
get
grant-
it automatically by applying for it. It shouldn't even technically come before this body, because it's mandatory that we issue that Class A cider to Class A beer licensee.
So for example, when Quick Trip was here with a myriad of applications last month, they wanted to make it easy, keep all of the previous conditions and licenses that they were, in essence, inheriting, purchasing. Of course, they're all new licenses from us. But, so for many stores, they applied for Class A beer, Class A cider, but then there were a couple that traditionally also had sold wine, so they also applied for Class A liquor. And then we added a condition limiting, I made the motion, that's why I remember this last month, limiting the Class A liquor license to cider and wine only. So was that correct last month, or was that an error last month?
No, you could do
Okay,
that.
all right, so they don't.
Because a Class A liquor will cover
Covers
everything.
everything, got it, okay, thank you. So you all didn't need to apply for a Class A cider license. So, one less piece of paper might be hanging in your store, depending on how this all turns out. Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Mr. Kano Spina.
For the committee, for my understanding is still making sure that I'm know what the parameters are. One of the person testifying said, if we bring it to the committee, we must look at the applicant, not necessarily the other business around. Is that correct? Is that our responsibility just to look at the applicant, or do we have to look at the safety of the community and all the other different things, right? That's my understanding.
Of course, no. Right, I'll make it real clear for you, and then I'll muddy it up. Your job is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. That the economic impact on other businesses is not a consideration for you, because it can be both positive and negative. I think it was last month or the month before, somebody asked an applicant, well, how do you feel about this other business moving in across the street from you? And the applicant actually surprised some people by saying, we look forward to it. It's a business that will draw more people to our business. So it's hard to predict the economic impact of adding another player. But and now I'm gonna muddy it up for you. What you can consider that's very close is, and somebody mentioned it, is the saturation of licensed establishments in an area. Is it turning Bedford Falls into Pottersville? If you get that reference, I know there's probably some young person out there going, what the heck is he talking about? All right, everyone in this body got it, so I'll leave it at that.
Is it Christmas time yet?
Okay, well, if you go into the stores, it looks like it.
Thank you.
I got no idea, but, so,
Were you,
no.
I'm sorry. Mr. Grady.
I believe we did a similar license for Regent Street Co-op, didn't we?
Regent Street Co-op has a license, yes, but it also took away a liquor license in order to add.
Yeah, they basically bought the business.
Correct.
Right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion?
yes, I'll make a motion so we can move along. So I'll make a motion to grant.
Okay, a motion and a second to grant the license, or licenses. Oh.
Would you just consider it friendly to limit the Class A liquor license to cider and wine
Yes.
only? Thank you.
Okay, Alder Brito-Seeloff.
So contrary to many things in life, I do not have a strong opinion about this. Not for those who know me. But I do, I guess, I see it from a perspective that there's not going to be an issue in how they manage the license. So that's check one. I think that clearly there is not a strong opposition from the neighborhood. There is, I think, a kind of people on both sides of this. So that doesn't tell us, one way or another. I do, unfortunately, I do feel like considering competition with other businesses gets us into a slippery slope that I just can't see myself getting into, because we have like just plenty of places where there's going to be competing business models. And so, I can get myself to a very strong reason and good reason to really not grant this application. I totally, from a heart place, do understand the issues of, adding one. It's not. I guess what I would say is it necessary? Not really. Do people really need this additional access? I don't think they do. But is it part of also potentially what is something that the co-op feels is part of them maintaining a viable business? It seems like it, because they're willing to pursue this despite some opposition from a neighborhood that they have been in for so many years. So I feel like if they are willing to continue this application despite M&A's opposition, that they must be feeling pretty strongly about it, because there is very close ties between the co-op and M&A in the past. So that's where I land for it's okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Takes us to item, I believe, 21. Badger Convenience of Madison LLC, doing business as Pincus McBride Market. And we have a number of registrants. Are you both with
I'm
the
Brinder Sandhu.
Okay. So why
Who's
don't
the
you?
applicant? I'm Robert Roth. I'm the accountant for the business.
Okay, Robert. And, okay, so why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you've got, in mind?
Yeah, my name is Brinder Sandhu. I have bought the Pincus McBride Market and Deli with my partner, and I have applied for the license for the beer and a wine.
Okay.
That's all I need to know.
And I'm Robert Roth. I'm here to answer questions.
Okay. Mr. Kano Spina.
So I have an email in front of me. So just want to confirm some of this information. You are scheduling a neighborhood meeting on October 25th,
Yes.
and there are some restrictions in the alcohol license that I want to go over with you. No liquor sales, beer and wine only. Established should not sell, dispense, or give away fermented malt beverages in the original containers in amount less than the amount contained in a 6-pack or 12 ounces bottles or cans. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
This is only applicable to fermented malt beverages which fall into the following categories: domestic brand, domestic premium, domestic soup premium, value economy brands, malt liquor, and similar situated important brands. Okay. Number 3, flavor malt beverages containing up to 6% of alcohol by volume may not be sold, dispensed, or give away in the original container in amount less than 4-pack or 12-ounce bottles or cans. And flavor malt beverages containing over 6% of alcohol by volume may not be sold, dispensed, or give away in the original container in less than 12 ounces bottles or cans. Okay with all this so far?
Yes, sir.
Good. Should not sell the 200 milliliter. Intoxicated liquor should not include wine in the original container with an alcohol content of 15% or less by volume.
Yes, sir.
And should not sell, dispense, or give away flavor fortified wines with the original container with an alcohol content of more than 12.5% of alcohol by volume, where spirits have been added to the wine that have not been produced from the same fruit as the wine for consumption of the licensed premises, and this should not apply to any other wine product as defined by the law.
Yes, sir.
You're okay with all those? Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Further discussion? Alder Rivera.
Hi. So I spoke with Alderperson Zellers about your application and the difficulties you were having scheduling a neighborhood meeting because of her busy schedule, and we appreciate your patience with that. So I just wanted to confirm with you her Alderperson Liddell Zeller's understanding, because she couldn't be here tonight. She wanted to confirm that you would not be applying for a provisional license if we grant you the license this evening. In other words, that you'll wait till the neighborhood meeting. That's
So
your,
the question comes up on the provisional, once the neighborhood meeting is taken care of, and assuming that there are no issues or problems, would a provisional be available at that point in time?
well, that's an interesting question. Now I can't recall if Alderperson Zellers had a strong feeling about no provisional period, which would thus mean that you weren't eligible for the license till after the common council acts on Halloween night. Do you have strong feelings one way or the other about that?
It's a dollars and cents issue. We bought an existing store, we looked at their profit and loss statements, and at this point in time, we're losing revenue because of not having a license. Strong feeling? No.
So which of you actually spoke with my colleague Alderperson Zellers
I did.
about this? Okay.
I did.
So what's your recollection from the conversation?
We didn't talk about the provisional at that
Oh,
point.
you didn't speak about a provisional at
No.
all with her? I thought you
No.
had.
This is just a question that came up, and again, I wasn't aware of a provisional, and you talked about it earlier with another applicant.
Oh, you weren't even aware? Okay.
Nope. It's one of those adages, don't say stuff that.
Well,
It's strictly a dollars and cents question, and the meeting on the 25th, we're only missing 6 days of sales. So it's not a contingency on this point, it's not a contingency to council that we're looking for. We're looking for dollars and cents.
I don't know. My thought is that, and recollection is that Alderperson Zellers was not interested in
And we'll live
you
by
being
that.
allowed to avail yourself of a provisional license.
Okay.
With that said, though, usually there's a several-day lapse between the common council meeting and when the mayor signs the proceedings of the meeting.
Okay.
So I'm sure that assuming your neighborhood meeting goes well and the common council meeting goes well and the license is granted that evening on the 31st, that assuming you've passed all the necessary inspections, and maybe you've already done that as of today, that you could present yourself on the morning of November 1st to the city
Okay.
clerk's office, and Deputy City Clerk here or his colleagues could issue a provisional to get you through the 3 or
Time
4
delay.
days that it might be until Mayor Soglin signs the proceedings that include granting your license.
Okay.
I'd be more comfortable with that.
That would be fine.
Okay.
If I can weigh in too.
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
It might even be 5 days because the neighborhood meeting's in the evening on the 26th, then it would have to be communicated to the alder and to the clerk's office on the 27th, but more likely in my 20-some-odd years with the city, it won't happen until probably Monday, so you're talking 1 day of potential sales.
Okay.
Before it goes to the council.
Yes, it's the 25th. The applicant's confused.
Yeah.
Our email says that the neighborhood meeting's October 25th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what.
Okay, so
Correct.
maybe 2 days, not a week.
Okay.
But bottom line is you propose no changes as it relates to alcohol sales from the previous owner.
Correct.
And that's why you've readily agreed to all the conditions that were already read to you.
Yes.
If there are no further questions, I make a motion. I wanted to modify a condition or two, if I could, so that they're more consistent with what's appropriate. So I would move.
I don't see
no
anybody
further
in the queue,
questions.
so go ahead.
So I move to grant Class A beer, Class A liquor license with the following conditions. Continue the existing conditions on the license with the following modifications. So for number 1, instead have it read that the liquor license is limited to cider and wine only, And I'm not mentioning beer because that's a separate license under state law,
Understood.
Class A beer. So the Class A liquor license is limited to cider and wine only. Continue current conditions 2, 3, and 5, and strike condition number 4 because there will be no spirits sold. And this was obviously an error added to the previous condition relating to spirits, and spirits were never sold at this location. So in other words, condition 5 would become condition 4. And for those that aren't aware, these are, the way they're worded is the uniform conditions all the downtown Class A establishments have agreed to.
Yeah.
So thank you very much and good luck.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Well, perhaps I should have also added, I don't know if we need to reconsider, but we all agree that no, you will not apply for a provisional license until after the common council meeting
Yes,
of
correct.
October
Yes,
31st. Thank you. So we have that agreement on the record then.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Excuse me, yeah. Yep.
Hey,
Yeah,
guys?
no,
Can you come back in?
yeah. I just want to, I neglected to mention for the record that there was another registrant who was in support and. Okay, I saw the same last name, so I wanted to make sure we didn't have a problem there. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, item 22, the Ramen Kid. We have 2 registrants. So let's take the applicant, Akira
Yes,
Ishikawa?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Wow. That's a first. Thank you. And also Christopher Adams.
Yep.
Okay. So why don't you explain what you would like from the committee?
Yes. I presently I own the ramen kit with the company's name called Waikio LLC. With my partner 40%, I'm 60%. Then I'm a liquor agent. And but the partnership start getting very sour, and we decide to spread out. Then so I have to apply for the. I like to dissolve the Waikio LLC, LLC, and so I can. So I made this my alone LLC company called B2Go LLC, and then I apply for the beer and wine license there.
Okay. So no changes at the establishment?
No,
Just
nothing.
this is an organizational
like
change?
every day.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you. Questions of the applicant? Alder Revere.
Thank you. Congratulations on your new establishment, Bistro Honda, that we approved on the consent agenda tonight.
Thank you very much.
You would have been on the consent agenda tonight. I would have nominated you, but I received an email from Captain Friedman that he hadn't heard from you. But is that, have you all communicated now?
I hadn't, but I also hadn't had an opportunity to look at the plan. It was before I got it, and my concerns that I voiced to you were alleviated.
The hours
based
of
on-
operation.
Yes, which
Yeah.
was the crux of it.
Yeah.
So,
You're planning to close around 9 o'clock, right, every day
Yes.
of the week?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, did you ever hear from one of your employees? Are you an employee there?
Yeah, I'll be the manager. I work at Ramen, but I'll be the manager at
Okay.
Bistro.
I didn't see you there, though, but when I was walking by a couple weeks ago and I saw your orange sign in the window, you had left me the voicemail.
Yes.
And called me to explain that you were just changing LLCs. But I noticed you hadn't filled in a date for allowing an open house for people. You know, there's 3 dates on the orange sign. So I had explained to whichever employee that I talked to, it wasn't either of you, of course, that you needed to pick a date and time to have have an opportunity for people to come and ask you questions from the neighborhood.
Okay.
Did you ever get that message? Did you see my business card that I gave your employee?
No, I didn't get it.
You never got it?
Yeah, we can take care of that right away, though.
Well, technically, you're supposed to have done it
Yeah.
by last week. And you know, it's kind of a technicality. I don't know if our legal counsel wants to opine on whether or not you can have an open house between now and the common council public hearing. Since you aren't changing anything, just the LLC, you know, it's kind of, you know, nothing monumental in my estimation, but I don't know. Can I impose on you, Assistant City Attorney Allen? Do you have any thoughts on this being a technical violation of the ordinance, if there's such a thing?
I don't think it's something that a court would invalidate the license over, that DOR would raise any concerns over, since it's part of our ordinance and not part of the state law process.
Okay, thank you. So do you understand what I'm asking you? You probably did this when you opened, hopefully you did it for Bistro Honda, but when you opened Ramen Kid, you were supposed to have that a meeting for the neighborhood where people can just come to your restaurant and ask questions.
Right.
So the clerk's office fills in 2 dates on the orange sign, and there's a space for you to fill out a 3rd date.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if you could, please pick a date and time within the next few days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before the Halloween city council meeting where your license will be considered, so that if anyone does have any questions in the neighborhood and happens to notice the orange sign in the next few days, that they can come ask you a question at a specific date and time. All right, so you'll do that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. All right, unless there's no further questions, then I would move to grant with the continuing the condition that they must meet the definition of a restaurant under Madison General Ordinance 38.02 at all times.
Second. Mr. Grady, okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. And let me, did I hear you say that you are the current liquor agent?
Yes.
Okay. And you'll continue to be the liquor agent in the new establishment? Okay, great.
And you still own Karaoke Kid?
Yes,
as well,
I
too.
do.
In case the captain didn't know that, make that connection, because we've had a lot of issues in your neighborhood, but not with Karaoke Kid, but with the crowds that
Oh, yeah.
enjoy your block very much on University Avenue.
That they do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this license. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so that,
Oh, we approved that earlier on our consent agenda,
Right.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's what you counted the numbers down, and I was looking at it, we skipped it and went to the next
Yeah.
one. Went to 22.
And we skipped 24 because, again, we didn't know if the police had any concerns or not, so. Okay, thank you.
you have a good evening.
Good night.
Okay, so that takes us to our official agenda, up to report from MPD on calls for service.
I don't have any comments, but if there are questions, I'm happy to try to field them.
Okay. So item 31, summary of licenses issued. Any?
Nothing additional from the report.
Okay, so that's 32 and 33. So we have to have a discussion about a couple of things here. Number one is adding a meeting in May to deal with license renewal, non-renewal applications. Any thoughts on that, or should we just proceed ahead to add a second meeting in May to deal with any? We can always cancel it if it turns out that we don't need it, but it'd be nice to get it on everybody's schedule.
We might need to.
No, I think we'll have the city clerk figure out what day would work. You can do a survey on that, and then just let us know. And then the last item, I just wanted to give you an update and get your input. A number of months ago, Alder Aarons sent a report out that he had gotten, had been made aware of it. It's called a polled report, Place of Last Drink. And it's compiled by the Alcohol Policy Studies Group over on the Madison campus. And he had sent it to a number of us on the committee. And I'll send you a copy of it. I just wanted you to know what you're going to get, because I'm going to probably include a few other things as well. But it's a process whereby folks have gone through OWI paperwork from Madison Police Department, Dane County, City of Middleton, and all of the surrounding jurisdictions, and they've identified when the person who is being ticketed or arrested for OWI provided the information, they've listed where they got their last drink. So what you'll see in the report is a description of what's all there, plus you'll see a list of all of the establishments and how many times they came up as a hit on that. In addition, it had been on my radar screen to ask the Madison campus folks who had come here several years ago, Dr. Sarah Van Orman, who's the, at that, yeah, she's left now, but she was the director of the University Health Service. And the university had done a study on the campus and then also linked it to a national study of alcohol consumption, you know, a bunch of different questions related to how that works between undergrads and grads and different kinds of issues where they got their alcohol and where they typically spent time drinking, if it was in an establishment or a house party or whatever. I'll send you a copy of that as well. It's several years old, but I've tracked down the folks on the campus who now are in charge of that, and they're very interested in coming to the committee and showing you what their new data shows. Thirdly, the health department is doing a, and help me, Captain Friedman here, they're doing they'd like to get involved in a project where they're going to map where there are instances that come up on the PD's radar screen and in relationship to bars that people may have been frequenting. And then we've also got the I mentioned the poll, didn't I? So
Yep,
yeah. So we've got. I knew there were 3 of them. So we've got 3 different groups that have got some interesting data to share with us. And it occurred to me that rather than try to sandwich that in on our regular agenda over a number of meetings, that it may be more advantageous to schedule a special meeting of the ALRC where that's our subject, and we could have the folks from the health department, the polled data folks, and then also the folks from the university all come and make their presentations, and we could have kind of a discussion that focused on those issues. And out of those may come some thoughts that the committee might want to have staff take a look at as far as things that could impact our process, questions we ask, things that might go in applications, maybe conditions that might get put on licenses and other things. MPD also has an interest in making some suggestions to the committee on that as well. So I wanted to just run it past you because it would be another meeting. I'm not sure exactly when we'd get that scheduled, if it would be yet this year or in January. But the thought was that there's enough stuff there, then you might have enough questions that we'd burn up time on agendas. Either we'd put this in way at the end and not have enough time, we'd put it in at the beginning and have a lot of people sitting here waiting for their agenda items. So I thought getting it all together in a single discussion in a special meeting might be a way to go. So, what's your thought?
I think it's a good idea. And I can tell you it's not going to be before December.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fine.
Because we have budget, and then it's Thanksgiving. And
yeah, we got the holidays coming up, so, and some of the folks that'd be presenting would need to, work on their PowerPoints and other kinds of stuff, but I just wanted to let you know what we're kind of looking at and get your thoughts on how you want to take in the data. Captain Friedman.
Yeah, it might be helpful, just these folks, I've had limited interactions with them, but they're subject matter experts, they're academics. It might behoove us to provide maybe some guidelines from our part as far as what specifically we're looking for, because there's a broad set of data, and some of which may be very applicable to this body and to what our interests are, and some of which may not be. And so I don't know if maybe there's some preloading we want to think about doing. Not wanting to stifle what they're going to bring us, but also wanting to not have, to be as efficient as possible.
I agree with that. I think also time, I work with the academics, so giving them a time limit on the presentation, because I don't want this to be like an hour and a half kind of lecture. We want it to, and the material, if we could get materials in advance so we can all kind of read it and come with have it more as a discussion than really because I think now it's 4 different kind of points of information, so it could be a little overwhelming to get that many presentations. So if we can give them it's 15 minutes presentation, 20-minute discussion, and then kind of move on, and then at the end, as a committee, if we want to then have more holistic discussion on next steps, we could do that, but really try to kind of manage it actual
okay, well then why, Mr. Kano-Spina.
I agree. I think that and I don't know if this is the correct way to get the data. I think that a couple of us kind of were talking particularly today about the 200 milliliter bottles, and if there was a way that they can incorporate some data on the use of that, how much that is sold, that kind of stuff, that would be very helpful for us. But it may not be the right place, but that may be interesting in another conversation or in that conversation.
They may have some research in general, but what I've seen, it doesn't drill down to that. I mean, it might be something we could ask for moving forward, but none of the data that I've seen or we've even talked about has broached that. And some of it doesn't exist yet. I think that hotspot, that's something they're proposing or they're trying to do, whereas the polled, the data set exists, but it certainly doesn't capture that sort of thing. So, but there might be some data out there on comparable cities, comparable that could be useful.
Or it may result in us asking
requesting for that.
Sure.
Because that seems to be like an issue for a couple of us in the committee. And I'm not saying that we can or will do anything about it, but having more information may help us.
Okay, well then let's do this to try to focus it. I'll send you the polled report, the copy of the presentation that the UW made several years ago. I don't know if the new one is going to link to that study or not, but we will certainly find out. And then there's also a report that we received from Madison or UW Police Department, which gives you some fairly significant insight into the nature of their referrals and citations and other things, because including UWPD in this discussion at some point will be helpful as well. And then what I'll also do, following up on Captain Friedman's suggestion, is just put at least a first run at some of the criteria, how much time we'd want, and things that we'd want to make sure that they cover. You can weigh in on that, and then I can use that to go back to them and say and we'll also try to get something scheduled, so it sounds like it'll probably be in January. And I'll coordinate with Assistant City Attorney Allen, because he shudders every time I talk about getting responses from the committee other than a public meeting, so we'll figure out the best way to get that done. So you can expect to get that. And then if you see some things in those other reports that you want to add to what I'm going to suggest as far as kind of a format, then we can, you can send me those comments and we can do that. Okay? Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Anything else to come before the committee? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn? Move. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are.
Mike.